I'm surprised with myself. I had never, I don't know, fallen in love. I guess those are the only words to describe it. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not some screwed up, selfish feminist who hates all men or something. I mean, I've been with a few gentlemen and some less than. Well, you know what I mean. But I've never felt much of a connection to them. And of all days, today I think I fell in love. It all started in London, and it's not too typical for me to go into the city very often. But today was just gorgeous. A perfect day, if you can believe it. I've been out to Jubilee Gardens plenty of times since I was a little girl. But even though it's been here for quite a few years, I never had the opportunity to go to the London Eye. I don't know why I felt I needed to, but I had the desire to see London from the sky, like a bird hovering in the wind. The sky was perfectly blue, and the city, as dirty as it gets sometimes, gleamed for me. After being up in the sky, and as it was just so cold today, I decided that it would be best to stop and get myself a hot drink and something to eat at the coffee stand. I've always been mad for pastries, no matter how rubbish they are, and there's a lot of rubbish in London, believe me. As I was walking away from the cash till, this bloke runs into me and knocks the Danish I'd bought right out of my hands. It lands on the floor and the guy doesn't even apologise. Out of money, I had a seat at one of the tables. At least I still had my coffee to savour. Before I knew it, the guy who bumps into me comes back over and asks if he can sit with me. Before I could even answer, he puts out his hand and introduces himself as Jack. Maybe it was because he had the brownest eyes I'd ever seen and the cutest smile, but I didn't feel annoyed anymore. Or maybe it was because he brought me a fresh Danish. As quickly as he came over, he said that he had to go, but before he did, he asked me out for the evening. Taken aback by him, I agreed. Sharing an evening with someone wouldn't be a bad way to end the day. I woke up extra early this morning. The air was brisk and a light glaze of frost covered the grass. I love the early mornings. The sun was just rising over this city, and how beautiful it looked, even with the smog hovering over it. I love the sunrise. It always reminds me of a fresh start from whatever worries were with me from the previous day. This reminds me of when I used to keep a diary. I haven't done that since I was 15. I've always loved going to Paddington Station. It's a great crossroads for many of the train lines in London, and in a funny way also a crossroad in my life. I remember when I was a teenager, I'd run away from home and stayed here surviving on the food in the shops and sleeping anywhere I could find in the station. To be lost amongst so many people was such a great way to forget about things. At the station, I look around all the little ornaments and shops. I become drawn to a small stand selling probably the most famous thing about Paddington Station. Paddington Bear. It's funny how iconic this place is. It is a beautiful place, and I'm glad he decided on a restaurant near here. It must be a sign if I believed in such things. He texted me the address of the place to meet up. It's a little fish and chip shop. How did he know? I hadn't had fish and chips for ages. He was quite charming. We talked about so many things. He's a dream. I got lost in the conversation we had. We discussed movies and music, all sorts of things. It felt as though we'd been best of friends for years. I couldn't believe how well I got on with him. He took me back home and I was a little nervous when he kissed me, but it's a moment I'll remember for the rest of my life. Since I've come home, I've decided it's best to end today with a fresh bottle of wine and a change of clothes. I didn't invite him in. I do have my limits, and he was very polite about it. And anyway, why spoil something by taking advantage of it? As I sit here writing this, I recall how perfect it has been today, just as I wanted it. Refreshing morning, a gorgeous day, and an evening of new love. How much more perfect could it be? What else could I have asked for? There is no better time than to do this now, and I hope all of you will forgive me. I write this so that you can share with me my happy spirit and understand that I wasn't being selfish. Wherever I go now, I will take you all with me in my heart. My deepest love to you all. I guess this is my note to end it all. The note. I don't feel afraid or worried. I think it's for the best. I've been diagnosed with something, but it doesn't really matter. I don't have much longer to live. And rather than live the remainder of my days in misery, I want to end it all on a happy note. Today is a great day. It's a super fantastic, wonderful and miraculous day. It isn't in me to feel upset about things. In fact, I'm writing this, my last message to the world, quite cheerful, and I hope that when you've all forgiven me, that you'll cherish my life, my happiness, rather than mourn the loss of me. Today couldn't be any more perfect.
Take a